Market looking flat today. Most traded is a stock called 𝗕𝗢𝗅. We've already have D-Wave, so now we have 𝗕𝗢𝗅. 𝗕𝗢𝗅 Media becoming a Bitcoin holding company like many other companies. Nvidia up 60 basis points. CoreWeave continues its torrential success, now a 73 billion market cap. Applied Digital up 2%, follow through from their deal with CoreWeave. Tesla on 3 million shares is up fractionally. Navitas is up 4%. Some weird Chinese company is up 19%. That's not even worried about them. But Robinhood is up 2%, now $73 a share.
Maybe even climate change, or maybe even stop the next pandemic. The possibilities are endless.
Yes.
And we're excited to be making them a reality with you.
They're so endless.
Thanks everyone for listening, and have a great day.
Those endless possibilities, so endless. They have not achieved anything on the roadmap they set out. No error correction, no tabletop quantum computers, no rack mountable quantum computers. Chris Monroe quit, Jiang Sun quit. They both are out. All three of those guys are gone. You got the gaming guy in. You know, video games is a great industry. It's just not quantum computing. You got a little quantum pandemic going on right now. I liked IBM's machines the best just because they were always up. They worked. They have their own cloud. I mean, that's really it. Yeah, so we're gonna let's look at CoreWeave, and then let's look at INMB. What's CoreWeave, like 150 right now? D-Wave makes you pay them money to learn their software. I love it. CoreWeave 148. They filed a 10Q. I think this was their first 10Q ever. They just went public. So we're gonna have some fun checking this out. Okay, they have a lot of shares. They have Class A and Class B. $72 billion market cap. Huge company. Quantum's gonna cure cancer. AI too. Then quantum AI is gonna cure cancer so good that you get anti-cancer, whatever that is. Okay, so these guys have 14.2 billion in GPUs. We kind of like want to count that, quite frankly. The PP&E is actually a very valuable asset here. That's why when I look at these balance sheets, I kind of look at the whole thing. I don't just glance, you know? Something might catch my eye. Well, they don't have nearly as much debt as I thought they did. Unless I have something wrong here. That's not bad at all. I thought they were like bursting at the seams with debt. Ever redeemable. No, they don't. All right, so let's look at the revenue. Revenue is up 5x year over year. Pretty amazing. Cost of revenue, and then they have something called technology and infrastructure. Trying to figure this out a little bit. Cost of revenue, technology and infrastructure. For now, I'll add those together. So their margins, pretty low, 16%. But we'll see what the real story is in a second. The idea behind CoreWeave is if you want an AI bet other than Nvidia, I mean, how many publicly traded stocks can you buy that are powering AI? This is one of them. Yeah, okay, their business model, just to be clear so everybody knows, I hope you're listening, somebody can clip this. What CoreWeave does is they buy Nvidia machines and they plug them in. Okay? That's what they do. That's the business. They buy them and plug them in. Get the machine and plug it in. Then I buy more machines, then I plug those in. Then I borrow some money to buy more machines, then I plug those in. That's about it. Ever heard of Nebius? No, I don't know anything about software. Okay, so looks like they did. Cash flow is a little lumpy. Yeah, it's being nice, but they did have positive cash flow here, and they had quite a lot of positive cash flow last year, this quarter. Look at the capex though. Oh my lord. They bought 1.4 billion of GPUs. What's interesting is they bought 1.4 billion of GPUs, and that's less than they did last year, same quarter. Let's look up Nvidia, and now we can actually literally just put in what CoreWeave's contribution to Nvidia's quarter was. Here's our Nvidia model. Now you guys maybe see the wisdom of having these models. You can kind of use them all to triangulate. We thought CoreWeave, look at that. We thought CoreWeave would do 1.25 in capex. Turns out that they did 1407. So pretty accurate. Looks like Shkreli might know what he's doing. I like to see that. So we'll see how much more they ramp up. They don't have too much cash. So if they do a debt offering, they said they're not going to do equity offering. My friend talked to them, big hedge fund. He said, you're going to clean up the debt? You got a lot of debt. They said, nah, B, I like debt. He said, okay, but why? You got a high stock price. You can just issue some shares, man. Get rid of the dilution. Get rid of the risk. You see, nah, B, I ain't doing that, B. Okay. You're never going to catch me reducing no debt, B. Issuing equity. Just issue some shares, man. Call Goldman. 1 million shares is nothing. We already have 480 million shares. What's another 10? Make it around 500 million shares outstanding. I guess the point is they do need to buy more GPUs if they're going to keep kind of staying competitive. One way to look at this, is if you buy $14 billion of stuff, okay, that you're going to rent to other people, what is the value of your company? I wish I had a producer who could get me the Jeopardy sound. Is it worth less than 14 billion? Probably not, right? Well, that ninja, if you buy something for 14 billion and you're just gonna rent that same exact thing out, how much more than 14 billion could it possibly be worth? Yeah, is it not like real estate? Imagine you bought 8. Yeah, it's not too different from real estate. Yeah, it's like a car rental company. It's interesting to see that they're not Nvidia's like biggest customer. They do have to rent the data centers. It's really expensive. This might be a good short. CoreWeave. You talking about my weave? I know you're not talking about my weave. Look, the GPUs are very valuable. There's no doubt about that. You would love to have the amount of GPUs they have. We have $12 billion of the latest Nvidia GPUs. I actually don't think you can even depreciate them. I know that sounds crazy, but like these things, I wouldn't depreciate these things. By law, they have to, and they will. Ooh, here's a good one. Company A, customer A is 72% of revenue. And in 2024, they had other customers that were a big chunk of revenue that just stopped being a big chunk of revenue. But they have a new deal with OpenAI. OpenAI committed to pay the company up to $12 billion. Ooh, $12 billion. As part of the agreement, the company issued 8 million shares. I'm not even worried about all that right now. Okay, here's PP&E net. Okay, so they've only depreciated $1 billion of it anyway. That don't even count. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this out loud, Kev, but Nvidia and CoreWeave are kind of peas in a pod. It would not surprise me if Nvidia bought CoreWeave someday. It pains me to say that. Listen, you guys are doing the same thing. Why is IonQ down? A couple days ago, why is it up? It's not always a reason for stocks going up and down. You're looking for causality in a world that is stochastic. A guy at Fidelity says, I want to buy 100,000 shares of this stock. Stock go up. A grandma flipping through the TV says, ooh, that looks like a good stock. She buys 600 shares. A construction worker loses money on some other stock or a football bet and says, I have to sell the 85 shares in my account. It's not always because of this or because of that. Don't worry, Papa Mike. Good things come to those who wait. I wouldn't be shocked if Nvidia tries to buy Taiwan Semi as a strategic government transaction. They go to Taiwan, they say, listen, it's Trump and Jensen. They both have their arms folded. China. And they just explain to the Taiwanese president, like, listen, you want protection from China? You want to make sure that China doesn't invade? Well, I'll tell you what, we can help you out with that, but you guys have to give us Taiwan semi. Say, what? We not give you Taiwan semi. Hold on. Stop it. Stop it right there, Line. I know what you're saying. You think it's crazy, but I'm not asking for you to give it to us. We're gonna buy it. We're gonna pay top dollar. Almost $1 trillion. Think of what you can do with that. You could even be a real country. And it'll be Nvidia semiconductors. We're gonna leave the Taiwan out. So I think Nvidia looks up the stack and down the stack. You know, up the stack is the people that buy the machines and plug them in. Then up the stack from there is the people that write the software to use the machines. And then up the stack from there is the people that actually use the machines to provide products to customers. There's a lot of this, you know, you can do the whole vertical integration if you want. So they did issue OpenAI a bunch of stock. That stock's now tripled. So OpenAI made a cool billion from just getting some CoreWeave shares. How crazy is that? If I was OpenAI, I'd sell it immediately. Immediately. Okay. Here's some more data here. Yo. So we've got CoreWeave did 1.9. That's for all of 2024. So, but the margin's so low. They're not even making money now. How are they going to make money at scale? Maybe it's just gap, not gap. It could be gap problems. Let's cut them some slack. But if you look at the margins, what are they getting from just plugging it in? But Microsoft can plug it in too, but they're getting 17% for just plugging it in. But remember, they pay interest. They pay interest on all the debt that they use to buy these computers. So once you factor the interest in, there's no profits. I'm not saying that they can't refinance the interest or something. They can, but it's a very weird business. Now, can they grow, and is demand for AI growing? Compute growing? Absolutely. You know, the test time compute is really important concept. The more the models think, the smarter they are. So, and synthetic intelligence, I mean, there's no limit to the amount of intelligence you want. No limit. You heard Shkreli. No limit whatsoever. So if we assume that 1727 is spread over, because we know the Q1, but we don't know Q2, Q3, and Q4. So we're going to guesstimate them. We're not going to do it straight line though, because we did straight line, it'd be 576. Better to do it, well, maybe we do that one, we'll keep this one 576, and then the rest is 1151. So we'll make this one like 30% of 1151, and we'll make that the 70% of 1151. Okay, so that kind of looks like maybe it's got that's their revenue. You're gonna miss all the quantum companies when they're gone, all the bagahondros, all the people on Twitter. SPY up 20 bips. Quantum down. CoreWeave was up a bit, down a bit now. So revenue growth, okay, revenue growth was 420% last quarter. Not an accident. Not an accident if you ask me. You don't just grow 420% by accident. That's divine intervention. And then you try to do the same straight line for 229 in 2023. So what's 229 divided by 4? Well, it's 57. So I don't know. Maybe you do 229. That's divided by 4, I should say. Yeah. 229 times, I don't know, 40%? Maybe 50%? Okay, so it's 115. 229 minus 115 is 114. We just divide that by 3 and call it a day. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so CoreWeave has been growing. somewhere between 400 and 1400% year over year. People still need GPUs, right? I don't know if they gave guidance either. Let's see if they gave guidance or something. Oh, by the way, the CEO of CoreWeave, his phone number and email is on Godel. So if you just type in his name, Michael in, at least I thought it was. I think they're fixing this feature. Yeah, there it is. You type in his last name. We've got thousands of those on Godel. So, Kathy's on there. Yep. Catherine Wood. Her name is actually Catherine Wood. People call her Catherine Woods or Kathy Woods, but it's Wood. Let's go Sarepta, 40 bucks. I love it. Bob is letting me short INMB. KWM going parabolic. I do think RXRX is a short. HIMS continues to be volatile and crazy. Apple is fighting with Microsoft and Google to acquire D-Wave. I talked to Tim Cook just the other day. I have to learn how to do a Tim Cook voice. At Meta, we're really dedicated to connecting people. And this quarter, we grew revenue and our user base quite substantially, as you can see. And one of the things that we're also going to do, in addition to Reality Labs, is we're acquiring a company called D-Wave. D-Wave is a $2 or $3 billion company, maybe a $5 billion company that I think is going to be the future of social media. We're going to put all of our servers on D-Wave, and the quantumness will actually help people connect better. So it's going to be called quantum social media. So no guidance from CoreWeave? Just, wait and see what happens. Okay, no, they gave guidance on the call. Okay, so next quarter is actually not that exciting. That's kind of scary. They're kind of projecting growth to slow like really rapidly. For my next startup, I think we're going to do something in like financial information, help people research the stocks they're investing in, make tools for them. I kind of did that on Wall Street for a long time, so I think it makes sense to like get into that field. Does that answer the question? Who just asked me that? Free AI therapy? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, just some kind of software system. I'll try to write some of the code myself, but inevitably I'm going to need like 10 or 15 really smart developers. Oh, they're saying capex of 20 to 23 billion this year. Where's that money coming from? It's kind of like MicroStrategy. They're saying they're going to do 800 and whatever this means, adjusted operating income. So it's roughly 100 times adjusted operating income. 20 to 23 billion. So capex is PP&E, right? So arguably their market cap is 80 billion and they have 34 billion of H100s and B100s. They're basically assuming that they can, for every GPU they've bought, the GPU is worth double today kind of than what they bought it. What do you think? Kind of interesting, right? Kind of shows you it was a steal. I should have done this analysis a little while ago. When it was 40 bucks, it was a steal. But the question is, okay, they have all this debt and that 20 billion of additional capex, that's not coming out of cash. They got to raise more debt or equity there. Houseway. Think of how nuts that is, right? So if I buy a box, over the lifetime of my box, I get my money back times 2. That doesn't seem unreasonable. I hate to say it. But the problem is, if they only have $14 billion of boxes, so they lever up to buy 20 billion more, all right? So then it's 34 billion of boxes at 100 billion enterprise value with a load of debt. What do you think? What do you guys think? Yeah, Dobler, obviously, people are doing that. But you have to realize that it's not just the cost of the box, right? It's also the cost of the data center, operating it, testing it, they're doing a lot of stuff. Doesn't seem like it's a great business because let's say demand dries up for whatever reason. Okay. What happens to their business? They still owe the debt. Lenders aren't going anywhere. This is tricky Ricky right here. Yeah, they got one custody. They got one custody that can pull the plug at any time. Right? And all that has to happen is Microsoft loses and let's say Google wins. It doesn't have to be anything wrong with AI or Nvidia or CoreWeave. It could just be Microsoft sucks. Something happens with Microsoft. Their launch plans go wrong. Mustafa Suleyman disconnects all their servers because he's scared of AI safety. Yeah, Thomas is thinking right about it, I think. I sort of kicked myself for not buying it at 40, but it has now gone 4x. It is 4x from the IPO just a little while ago. Now, IPOs are supposed to be price discovery, right? You guys know how an IPO works? All right, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan takes you around, almost like a bride, a father and the bride. They walk you down the aisle. Okay, it doesn't work exactly like that. Let me take a step back. Yeah, so they build a book. It's called Equity Capital Markets, or ECM. You can find ECM people on Godel as well. They build a book. They take orders from clients. The clients participate in what's called a roadshow. The roadshow is the company management team visiting the top accounts, the banks. They'll visit the Fidelities. They'll visit the Capital Research, talking about the top guys in all of Wall Street, Jennison. Of course, they'll visit Millennium and Citadel, GSAM, Goldman Sachs Asset Management, all the usual suspects of any. Look at the holders list of any stock. You go to Godel, type Nvidia Equity HDS, you'll see they'll visit BlackRock, T. Rowe. T. Rowe's a big one. And the CEO and CFO will meet with these guys, and then the firms will decide. No, Wainwright's a banker, so we're talking about the banker here is Goldman or JP Morgan. In this case, it's JP Morgan. But yeah, they'll meet all the top clients on Wall Street. Everyone will want a meeting, but not everyone will get a meeting. And they'll build up the roadshow, and the roadshow will probably just be in New York, but sometimes it's in Boston and SF, and they'll do a few dates, maybe 2 dates in New York, and then the book gets built, and that's it. Yeah, I think D-Wave will probably dump next quarter. I doubt they had a very good quarter. So as I've learned about D-Wave more and more and more, I really understand it now. So basically what they do is they are an optimization business cloaked in a quantum company. The quantum part doesn't matter at all. That's all fake. What they do is they basically look for QUBO style problems, any kind of minimization, optimization type problem, traveling salesman type problems, and they just solve it for their customer. There are other companies that do this. Some of them are really big, and it's just basically consulting. So they go in and they decide they say, okay, what traveling salesman style problems do you have? And it's either, routes, logistics, anything with large numbers of variables to keep track of at the same time. And they say, okay, we can do this for you. And they try to implement a solution, and that's it. But that's more what Accenture and IBM do, right? And they mostly use Gurobi. They're not even solving it with Nvidia. You don't need Nvidia to do traveling salesman problem. So the customer is happy and they're like, wow, this worked really well. But they obviously can't charge anything because other people can do optimization too. And their revenue is so small because they're just an optimization house. And there's many of these. I think Toshiba has a big business. Not everything is an optimization problem. An optimization problem is you have lots of variables and you have to decide their order or something like that. So they haven't done an offering yet. They just filed the shelf. But unlike CoreWeave, if a bank took D-Wave around and did a roadshow, all the roadshow participants would just laugh at them. So they mostly use the ATM. Yeah, so I'd stay away from CoreWeave. If you're long it, I would probably sell it.